Welcome back. My name's Ksantikara.
And my name's Danayutta.
And together we're doing this kind of setting up conditions at home to practice meditation and Buddhism. And in this video we wanted to talk about, well, we've got this working title of Detox Your Mind. In particular, reducing input and doing very little. So I've been noticing already just how compelling it is at the moment, particularly to tune into the news. I'm checking the news a lot. And I'm slowly realising I don't need to. Intellectually, I know I don't need to. Emotionally, I'm still checking the news a lot. Likewise, I'm on social media more than ever, partly because the London Buddhist Centre's gone online, so I feel that gives me a reason to be more involved in social media, but mainly also just because it's compelling and sort of stimulating and possibly even covers over the fact that I'm feeling a bit anxious and probably I just need to rest and there's no need to be quite so busy. So I think one thing to do in these times, something really important, is to reduce input. Just see if you can really tone down the amount of input coming in, basically what's kind of coming into your eyes and dropping into your being. Could you tone down the amount of time you spend on social media, set some targets? What about if you just check the news once in the late morning and once in the evening? That would probably be enough. If anything really big happened, someone would text you, or you'd hear, or there'd be a noise from somewhere else. And likewise, I've been noticing, because I've been on social media a bit too much, how much advertising is coming my way from Spotify, from Netflix. Disney Online apparently has also got a streaming service that they're marketing at me. So they know their markets and they know that we've got lots of attention now, possibly lots of time. Lots of us are working from home. So I'd also say try not to use it too much on Netflix. Pick a box set, list a few films you actually want to watch, and leave it there. So really turn the input, reduce the input as much as possible.
Actually, that's a really, really good suggestion. You know, like we probably know that we're probably not going to be able to get through this period with nothing. So instead of like trying to go cold turkey and not have a Netflix account or a Spotify account that you'd normally do, why don't you curate your input a little bit more and just listen and watch and read better quality things instead. You know, really curate, I would say, your news sources. Don't just read particularly unhelpful, scaremongering stuff, for example.
You could kind of consciously sit down and watch those films that you've always wanted to watch.
And
consciously
films.
do that rather than I just flick around on YouTube and think, I've been here an hour. I could have watched that film I always wanted to watch.
Or I just watch trailers. Do you ever
me
do that?
too. I love
watch trailers. Anyway, the other thing we wanted to talk to you about is just to see if you can actively, not just reduce input, but actively do nothing. It's very, very difficult to do, but it's really, really worthwhile. Actually, particularly if you've been trying to set up a meditation practice, doing nothing is actually a very, very good accompaniment to meditation practice. Probably a lot of what you're finding in meditation practice is distraction, is thinking about things, planning things, ruminating things. And if you're serious about meditation, I would say do nothing outside of meditation. And, be quite sort of realistic in your expectations of doing nothing. You know, I'm actually quite a busy kind of person. I'm very much a doer. So what I do is I make myself a cup of tea, like really, my favorite tea, which is decaf Earl Grey with soya, and I make it in a really nice teacup, and I just sit down on my sofa, and I just say to myself, until the end of this cup of tea, I'm just going to sit here, and I'm going to look out of my window. So that's one way of doing nothing. The other way of doing nothing is just to also connect with nature. So you may or may not be going out of your house. If you are, that's great. You know, you might have like a favorite tree quite close to where you live. Maybe you could do a little pilgrimage to that tree every day. Or even if you're stuck indoors, what you can do is just to look at the sky. Everyone's got a little bit of sky, and the sky's always changing. So that would be my other tip. Probably you might also be needing to connect with beauty. And I just found this quite interesting, actually, because most of us think of doing things like going to galleries or looking at painting, looking at art. But what I found is I've really started to enjoy listening to music. So you might be somebody who listens to Bach cantatas, or you might be somebody who listens to Mozart. But actually, what I've been listening to is Giles Peterson. So he did a set recently, and he just kept repeating this phrase, "music to the rescue," and it was so good. I really found it a refined and uplifting and joyful experience. So listen to some good music.
Yeah, so we're suggesting you sort of up your input to something more refined or more beautiful, something that really moves you. But also this thing of doing nothing. And I think it is quite hard to do nothing. It sounds easy. And last year I was on this long 4-month ordination retreat led by Mike Bander, who's in the video with Danayutta running alongside this series. And Mike Bander decided that every day we'd have a half an hour session and a 45-minute session of doing nothing. And we were being watched, so we had to sit in the chair for half an hour and 45 minutes. And lots of the men around me loved it. They very quickly were like, this is wonderful, it's really opening up my world. I found it so difficult to sit still just with a cup of tea, and mainly we were looking at this beautiful Spanish sky. But I really stuck with it. It was for 3 months I stuck with it, and it didn't take 3 months for it to work, but just by committing to doing nothing, the world really did open up to me. Suddenly the blue sky became much more beautiful. Suddenly my mind just quietened down. I went through that hump of anxiety, particularly past the threshold of boredom. And just after that boredom, just when you've been in boredom long enough, something definitely opens up, something sort of mysterious and beautiful. So, I don't know, I just wanted to share that I find doing nothing really difficult, particularly in the city, but when I've been able to do it and stick with it and commit to it, it's really opened up a new perspective. Yeah.
So see if you can try your best to reduce input, or at least curate your sources of input, and spend some time doing nothing, and spend some time having much better input, like looking at the sky or listening to something that's uplifting.
Yeah, and so that's the end of our video this time. So what we're asking is, we're giving these videos freely, but do donate to the London Buddhist Centre. If you have money, do donate it. You can do so by going to londonbuddhistcenteronline.com. And one of the best ways to do that is if you can make a one-off donation that's small, great. If you can make a one-off donation that's large, that's really good too, possibly better. And if you could make a monthly donation to us, you could do that online too, and then we can just start to plan on that basis.
Okay, thank you. Bye.